So I just love Fayetteville, because it's this wonderful, look how busy this is. It's town square, and it's like that often. It's got 345 historic structures, but only 262 people. I mean, it's got more buildings than people. But it's a great place, and people really like it. It has an economy. One of the reasons is this little country place hotel that, people in the city, they'll give anything. Just, can I go stay out in the country somewhere? Find me a little hotel that's fun, and I'll drive around and look at stuff and so on. Fayetteville does that. I think they have 13 rooms in this little place. The guy's an artist, and he knows, so he started first by bringing his friends out. But pretty soon, he keeps this place busy, this little hotel. And it's this idea of a garden city. So there's the downtown. It's not very many blocks, but it's a grid. It's an old grid. And as you move away, you're looking at, these are all single-family dwellings out here. And as you get out here to the edge, you got somebody who's probably owns this land out here, and probably owns 10 or 20 acres and so forth. And then you're out into rural Fayette County. So it's got everything there, including an economy that works. And houses that I don't know if you can see any of that, but it's got houses in here that range from like $250,000 to $1 million something in Fayetteville, And I know that when my wife talks about wanting to live in a small town, that's where she wants to live, Fayetteville. So I don't know, they can do those kind of prices, I guess. This is Brookshire. This is Brookshire with its perfect urban grid that was there from day one. That, again, planners would say these are great bones. Got the main highway, this is Highway 90, maybe a little problem as you begin to think about that. But it has the urban grid, and again, here's some stuff, downtown, and then here's houses that are, so people can live a block away or 2 blocks away from downtown. This is the urban center, I think. I mean, I got this off of Google, and so I didn't actually drive through there, but I'm pretty sure this is the center, the urban part of Brookshire. And it's classic, it's classic. It's like, here's one in Bay City. And the only difference is that they've started to look at it a little bit, and they have this head-in parking, and they have a few more things here. So there's not much going on here, and there should be. And I would point out, by the way, that these people, none of them park very well. But, it's a relaxed kind of a country place, right? So this is the idea. This is a little bit similar street. It's not as big. And by the way, I have to go back and say, this is a big problem, this truck and this highway. This is 90A. This is a TxDOT facility. If you wanted to have bike lanes in here, people living who had that kind of a mentality that love to ride their bikes or go for a walk and so forth, you can't do it. This is really dangerous. And so that's why you're not seeing anything happening along here. Because one of the things that happens is when people can go fast, they don't see what's there. When people get stuck in congestion, they see all the businesses. And when people have to walk or ride bikes, they stop at all the businesses. So you get places like Copenhagen that's very slowly shutting down all of its streets and keeping cars out of everything because business is off the charts when you can get cars out of the streets. So this is a kind of an interesting, here's a street maybe similar to that, and here's this idea for what you would do with it over time. Same street, a lot of trees and sidewalks and cafes and all that kind of stuff, but it's the same street, same small town kind of a place. This is Hempstead. Perfect again, great grid, much bigger grid, of course, but still same idea. And we saw in the HJC thing, here's that grid. There are more jobs. I don't know, is it that precise? Are there really more jobs in this quarter than there are down in this quarter? You all would know better than I. But one of the things, remember, we saw was that this doesn't change at all from 2015 to 2040, and that has to be fixed. So is this the urban center, or is this Main Street, so to speak, But it's classic. It's ready to go. It's perfect, and it's a better street situation, and got head-in parking and all that. So there's lots to work with here. This is my favorite. This is Pattison, and I have identified this place as the heart, and that may not be the heart of Pattison. It may not be the heart of Pattison. But I would, if I had a lot of money, I would buy that place right there, and I would put in something really good, you know. And pretty soon this place would grow a little. You know what's right here is a nice little nursery and church and something, I don't know. But why can't that look like that, you know? Well, it's a vision, you know. It's all about dreaming. Is that a place where people who work in the city perhaps might want to live? Pattison, you know, it's just a couple of miles off I-10 and boom, you're there. You can get to a parking ride in no time. Same with Brookshire, I guess. But so this kind of stuff is I think you have to start dreaming these things and maybe make some of them happen as you go along. I don't have any money. I can't do it. This is my favorite, so you all may know. This is Waller. This is Main Street and Key Street. And Waller went through this wonderful livable centers planning process with HJC and came up with this for that space. Well, it's perfect, you know, just in terms of being an urban space right in the middle of a small town that's got everything, civic stuff, historic structures and buildings right on the street, good what do you call these, bulb outs that make the streets safer to cross and provide parking on the edge. This stuff is all perfect. So I would say, you know, how do you go in that direction in any one of your towns or cities? And then there's this idea of agricultural urbanism, and we had the sort of founder of this idea, Andres Duane, here a couple of years ago. And I remember there was some interest in this idea from some folks here in Waller of, you know, what this is the edge of some place that's a little bit urban because it's obviously bigger buildings than just houses. And this one, I think, is in, I don't know if this is the one in Florida, it might be. And then here's a working farm that feeds all of these plants and product places where they're making things, and people come out on the weekends to do this, and these people who live here have to pay a premium to live near this farm, and the premium they pay makes the farm go. And so you can see this, something like garden villages like that on the edge of Waller, right? I mean, or anywhere where you do something like this, and I can almost guarantee you that if you did something like this on the edge of one of your towns, people from the city would come to it so fast because everybody wants to be a farmer right now. Not really, but you know what? They all think they want to be. We have a little place we call a farm in Austin County where everybody in my family wanted to be a farmer all of a sudden. And we just, by the way, we found out it's hard. You might have known that. You know, and raccoons, I don't know. So here's a place that you could see anywhere in America. I'll bet there's some places that look sort of like this, near here somewhere. Can we start to make these places work? Can we make them a little more nice small towns that even have stuff going on at night? Your two big cities, Brookshire and Hempstead, each have a little bit less, I guess, than 5,000 people. You know, can you imagine? Would you hate this if each of those towns was 15,000 people and there was no sprawl? Then that's what I think you have to do if you want to wind up having places where your kids and grandchildren want to live, and where you save everything you care about here, and where you actually start to have more fun and a better economy and more taxes. Here's one, say you're 2 blocks away from Main Street or 3 blocks away, and you had that happen over there. Would that be bad? You know, you've still got your houses over here. Everybody's still fine. Or a place like this, you added that. How bad is that? You know, it's actually, for a lot of people, that's really good. So then I'll quickly end with transportation infrastructure, which is a really complicated topic and that I actually know a lot about, and so I won't talk about it very much. But you know, mainly what you have is 290 and I-10 connecting you to the rest of the world, right? And so this place here, one doesn't drive on it unless one has great need, right? You know, this place here recently, you know, has been made a little more passable, but it'll change. It'll get impossible pretty soon too. But still, that's your context of the world. So you have two choices: you live with that, and it gets more crowded all the time, or you come inward and you start to think about what you have here and what you can do here. So you don't have to do that or that. And then one thing I would say, I looked at this, so this is Brookshire and this is Katy. And everybody sees this, but I see this, 90, and I've looked at it from Brookshire to Sealy. Really interesting, interesting possibilities there to connect this place to this place, big job centers, both of which, this is going to have lots and lots of people, obviously. This could too. Could you get to a point where you actually would say, let's do a bus up and down here, so we don't have all these cars and we have that kind of convenience? So, you know, does it seem sensible in Waller to be thinking about transit? A little bit, you know, how over time, particularly as people get older, as we all are, we're going to not be wanting to drive so much. And, you know, could I go to the movies over here or whatever is the thing? Great restaurants over here that people like to go to. And then this is probably going to be a little controversial. So this is 36A. I was hoping to hear that. You know, this is such an incredible boondoggle. That's where it will go, you know? I suppose to relieve congestion or something, just like the Grand Parkway. And the interesting thing about Segment E of the Grand Parkway is it looked exactly like this. I used to have a slide like this all the time. Now it's gone, it's completely gone. I mean, because it's in place and it's all developed on both sides, and that's gone. And that's what will happen here too. Let me go back a little bit and say this. This goes through your county and touches only one of your towns and cities. That's not by accident. You know, that's to suck the life out of the towns and cities and bring it over to strip malls and stuff all along here, and new places that people's houses that, by the way, are going to cost the county taxpayers more than they're going to pay back in taxes. So the only people who make money on these things are the land speculators, the land developers, feral hogs, and then the people who own that land. You know, fair enough. Although I would bet half the people who own that land aren't from Waller anymore, but that's the way it was in Grand Parkway. And then the people who build the houses, the developers. That's it. It doesn't help anybody to do that kind of stuff, and it'll hurt the county. So I'm just saying, if you want to think transportation, it's the oldest game we've ever had in America, is build a road and they will come. And in the end, that's Ponzi, and it doesn't pay, and it's not good for anybody. Nobody likes it when it's all over. I can't believe this thing is still alive as a project. So that's time for you to tell everybody how they can do this stuff, Chuck. What are the rules?
I think we've already gone longer than the runtime for the movie Penguins that's advertised out in the top. So I'm going to try not to keep you too much longer. There are options to help with some of the development ideas that you might want to pursue. Home rule cities like Katy and Hempstead, they have a lot of options. Since they are home rule, they can appoint various committees. They can do a lot of different things to look at quality of life, look at certain types of development. The general law cities have a little less available to them, pretty much zoning and subdivision plats, but there are opportunities as folks get interested in looking at how you can make some of these opportunities work. For the county, options are a bit limited. Counties don't have a whole lot of authority on regulating development. It's pretty much what you see on this list here: subdivision plats, drainage, where you can put your water well, where you can put your septic tank, certain parts of road planning on there. But that being said, visioning and long-range planning can go a long way in getting people together and coming up with what you feel you want your communities to look like in the future, and then to pick some things that can be done in the short term and some things that need to be carried forward for the next 5 to 10 or more years in the future. HGAC has helped with long-range planning for our counties in the past. I think I have a slide coming up that talks about the work we did in Austin County a few years ago, where we got together with local economic development groups, community groups, residential developers, cities, county officials as well, and citizens, and came up with ideas on what Austin County wanted itself to look like. What type of development do they want to have what are some exciting things they can do to kind of spruce up their towns. So those types of services are available. They can be very helpful to just kind of stitch together the social fabric of the community to try and move forward in an organized way. There's also developer agreements that can be put into place, and drainage requirements. Non-governmental planning is pretty much what happens if you have a master developer or citizens that are involved and want to form a group that might help with the development on that. And then, of course, forming management districts as well can help with that. On the developer agreements, those can be exchanges. Perhaps if it is limited what a county can do, maybe some of those things could be negotiated with a developer. Maybe there can be certain considerations on a variance for an easement in return for something being developed in a certain fashion, or a certain amenity being added to that community that would make it closer to some of the things that we saw on the slides tonight. Here are some of the examples I mentioned. In Austin County, we did the Austin County Vision and Strategic Plan. That's available on the HGAC website. We can also get copies out to you as well on that. That was a very good effort. Didn't take a whole lot of money to do that. It mostly took time and commitment from local citizens and elected officials in that area, and we provide some of the technical resources. In West Fort Bend, they developed a management district out in the county, looking at development standards and landscape master plan. As well. So those things are definitely happening in our region and possible out in the unincorporated areas. And then lastly, a West Houston Association, which is mostly a civic association and some businesses. They put together a West Houston Plan 2050, getting together and say, what do we want this area to look like by the year 2050, and also a quality plan development program. So they're all talking and coordinating and expressing how they want things to look and the certain standards that they want. So there are great examples just down the road, either way, from where you're at, that can be modeled. HGAC programs. HGAC is right now doing a program called Bringing Back Main Street. We got a grant from the U.S. Department of Agriculture to go out to about 9 of our small cities and look at real comprehensive ideas on revitalizing the old downtowns, whether it's just appearance, whether it's trying to look at opportunities for businesses, whether it's improving the infrastructure. A lot of things are coming out of that, and that report will be released very soon. We have a community trees program and a downtown public spaces initiative. I'll pause on those for a minute. A lot of the slides that we saw earlier, some of those transformation slides where you had a road or an old downtown and it needed kind of some sprucing up, and needed some trees and some period lighting, maybe a facade improvement program. HJC has grants to help with those. David showed Bay City down in Matagorda County. One reason why that place looks so nice is they have a facade improvement program where they go out and they provide funds for the businesses to put a fresh coat of paint on that building, replace some windows, replace some doors, fix up the exterior, and HGAC provide half the funding for that program to make that possible. And we also have community trees. If you want to put trees in a gateway into your downtown or along your downtown area, we have grants to help provide money for the trees, and we can also provide expertise on helping provide some options, some of the trees that might do better than others in some of those settings as well. As I travel around our 13-county region, my wife learned pretty quickly. I would go out and I would find these little towns and I'd fall in love with them, and I'd say, Mary, we need to go to Liberty this weekend. You're going to love this little downtown. And now we're going to go to Freeport, and now we're going to go to these. And then after about 5 of those, she said, I'm good. I'm good. You go enjoy yourself. Because she wasn't seeing quite what some of us see as far as the potential out there. But a lot of our communities have what I kind of call first impression problems. You pull off the county road, you pull off the highway, and you come into town and you kind of go, whoa, this is what I have. And if you go a little farther, you might find some nice old buildings and a small park and some activity. Helping with those first impression problems is important. It doesn't matter if it's Galveston on the coast, when you come over 45, it's not quite looking like it should, or some of our other more small rural towns. A lot of them can use a little help, and we have ways to make that happen. Livable centers, examples in Waller County, we did Hempstead and Waller. Those are a little more than just the sprucing up that I talked about as far as improving those gateways and downtown areas. These are where we actually get together, we provide planning services, bring a consultant out, work with locals to kind of re-envision parts of town, make them more walkable, make the transportation a little easier, make it more vibrant for the businesses. And those are opportunities that we can fund as well. Is this your slide or mine, Dave? Oh, Bob. This is Bob's slide.
That's a beautiful slide. It looks a lot better than it did. Okay, I'm going to be challenged here. Okay, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. Francis is totally on the ball here. If we need, he is really on the ball. As hopefully some of you are inspired to grab a bull by the horns, wrestle it around a little bit. Some of the tools, just reminding you of what you've been, who these folks are, what are some tools that you could work with, you or your elected representatives, be they county officials or city officials where you live. Houston tomorrow. Houston Galveston Area Council. You've seen a lot of slides from Chuck this evening. John with Texas A&M. I would just love to get my hands on that table and say, what if I jam all these people up and have this over here and that over there? What's that do to my tax base, especially if I was an elected official? Also, as I was working on the beginnings of this program, I visited with a great resource right here in Waller County at Prairie View A&M, the School of Architecture, which includes urban planning, offered to assist, this would be a government request, has offered to assist in preparing any studies that might be requested. So these are great possibilities. We don't need to change slides anymore. At this point now, I'm going to do what I promised to do at the beginning. Any representatives, I'm going to call city names. If there's anybody here, candidates, mayors, council people, please just stand up when I call your city, and then you can sit back down after everybody who might be from your area has kind of got you spotted. Well, I'll start down at the south. I forgot Katy. I always tune Katy out. I don't know why. I apologize. If there's anybody here from Katy, I didn't invite them. That's my problem. Not personal, not personal. But if anybody here in Katy government, no. Okay, Brookshire. Okay, Patterson didn't expect them because they had the regular meeting tonight. Wait. Oh, Joe, thank you, sir. Pine Island, City of Waller,
Economic development.
Prairie View.
From the School of Architecture. Juanita Jimenez from the School of Architecture on behalf
Oh,
of
yes.
the team.
Well, I had in mind City of, but very good. And Hempstead. Very good.
Eileen Burney for school board position 6.
Okay. Very good.
Commissioner Precinct 1, Hempstead's my hometown.
Okay. All right, John. All right, and all of you know
One more stand.
who to leave off.
Instead,
Oh,
I'm running for the school board, and
Yes.
I want to thank you so much for this evening. It's been just fascinating and encouraging that this is being done. Thank you so much.
okay. Thank you.
Schools weren't mentioned, but certainly we know how important our schools are.
Okay. Judge, quick question for you.
Yes.
We are over time. I like to honor everybody's time. I requested the guys tonight to be sure to hit all of their high spots. You know, it's 2 days worth in one evening. Do you want to give folks 10 minutes if they got any questions for them? We had not really
Yeah, I mean, that.
planned on.
Yeah, if folks have questions, I mean, that's fine with me.
Okay.
I'm here, I mean, if the commissioners have questions, this would be a good time, because obviously, once we close the meeting, we cannot engage in a discussion.
Right.
so.
And therefore, with that hint, I'll ask you if any of the commissioners or you, Judge, if you have any particular questions for these fellows.
I guess the question, y'all kind of covered it in your presentation. You know, obviously,
Hand on the microphone. Oh, yeah.
Different one.
You kind of,
Oh, it's on.
you'll push a button here. There we go. Okay. You touched on this during your presentation, and I was going to bring this up, in that, cities have a lot more ability to do things. And this is something, having gone to several conferences now, the simple way to explain it to some folks is cities can just about do anything that's not prohibited by law. Counties can only do what we've been granted by law to do, which is extremely limited. Are there any thoughts on things that can be done, maybe legislatively, to help counties in this area in the future? Because you're right. Right now, there's a lot of these livable centers and stuff. I mean, they're great, but we can't. There's just not much we can do to make those happen. Whereas City of Hempstead, they can zone, they can do different kinds of things, but we, as a county in unincorporated areas, we cannot.
Well, a little answer is that Dallas is in what, Tarrant County? And San Antonio, Bexar County, have been to the legislature, I don't know, maybe 3 times, trying to get some of those powers, and they can't seem to ever get any allies from the other cities and other areas. But by now they've got some pretty good legislation. They've done it a lot of times. So now, would that, how, you can imagine how that bill would look. It would be the urban county in each case, not going to help Waller in the least. I heard a strange idea once that came out of the Austin County thing. You might know better about this. The idea of turning the county into a tax increment reinvestment zone, the whole county, which suddenly gives it all kinds of powers to do things. And it hasn't happened anywhere yet. But of course we have 30 or 40 of these TERSs in Houston, and they really move money around. Do you know about that, Chuck?
I know. Thank you, David. I know there was talk at one point of trying to make an entire county tax increment reinvestment zone. I know what came out of that is they were successful in doing a tax increment reinvestment zone for a winery area on the northern part of the county. And so sometimes there can be opportunities to maybe focus on